Hello ladies and gents, welcome to Crypto Jack TV. It's going to be one of those deep videos. Today I'll present some controversial information and ask inconvenient questions. Are we all sheep of an unknown shepherd? Is Bitcoin a Trojan horse? Are we authors of our own demise? Or are we visionaries? Part of the populace that is woke and informed enough to understand the possibilities of decentralization, e.g. blockchain. I'll present fragments of information. Just like puzzle pieces, this will begin to form a picture. However, even then, the picture might not be all it seems. Let's go down the rabbit hole. What is black economy? The black economy is a segment of the country's economic activity that is derived from the sources that fall outside the country's rules and regulations regarding commerce. The activities can be either legal or illegal depending on what goods and services are involved. People operate in black economies in order to trade contraband, avoid taxes and regulations, or skirt price controls or rationing. A black market may arise to make illegal goods and services available or to make expensive items available for less money. Origin of the Internet. The Internet began life in 1969 when scientists working for the US Advanced Research Projects Agency, that's a mouthful, ARPA, now known as DARPA, connected computer networks at the University of California and the Stanford Research Institute. The Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, is an agency of the United States Department of Defense responsible for the development of emerging technologies for use by the military. Inventions of DARPA: the Internet, Windows, the World Wide Web, and video conferencing. And no, I haven't lost the plot. I know about Microsoft, but Douglas Engelbart and DARPA had a big hand in the development of Windows. Number 3, Google Maps. Number 4, Siri. Number 5, Unix and the cloud. Before Unix, without which there would be no OS X, no iOS, and no Android, and of course no Linux. There was Multics. Number 6, GPS. And number 7, and this is a very interesting one, Tor. In case you don't know, Tor is the browser you use to access the dark web. What is the deep web or the dark web? The deep web, invisible web, or hidden web are parts of the World Wide Web whose contents are not indexed by standard web search engines. The opposite term to the deep web is the surface web, which is accessible to anyone using the internet. Number 8, Memex. Currently, I believe it's in development. Memex is a search engine for the dark web. When it comes to SpaceX and new relays, I'd say Elon is just a front, with DARPA being the puppet master. Who is the NSA? The National Security Agency is a national-level intelligence agency of the United States Department of Defense, under the authority of the Director of National Intelligence. The NSA is responsible for global monitoring, collection and processing of information and data for foreign and domestic intelligence and counterintelligence purposes, specializing in a discipline known as signals intelligence, or SIGINT. The NSA is also tasked with the protection of US communication networks and information systems. And interesting, the NSA relies on a variety of measures to accomplish its mission, the majority of which are clandestine. A clandestine operation is an intelligence or military operation carried out in such a way that the operation goes unnoticed by the general population or specific enemy forces. Essay: How to Make a Mint, the Cryptography of Anonymous Electronic Cash. This was published by the NSA back in 1996, readily available on the surface web, which you can access right now. This essay details the overall structure and function of Bitcoin cryptocurrency. Much of the Bitcoin protocol is detailed in this document, including signature authentication techniques, eliminating crypto coin counterfeits through transaction authentication, and several features that support anonymity and traceability of transactions. The IMF, International Monetary Fund, is an international organization headquartered in Washington, D.C., consisting of 189 countries working to foster global monetary operation, secure financial stability, facilitate international trade, promote high employment and sustainable economic growth, and reduce poverty around the world. Or it's a loan shark. Here's an interesting article from 2011. IMF boss calls for global currency. Dominic Strauss-Kahn, managing director of the International Monetary Fund, has called for a new world currency that would challenge the dominance of the dollar and help curb future financial instability. Have you heard of Kaspersky antivirus? Well, this is from the CEO, Natalia Kasperskaya. Bitcoin is a project of American intelligence agencies which was designed to provide quick funding for US, British, and Canadian intelligence activities in different countries. The technology is privatized, just like the Internet, GPS, and Tor. In fact, it's $2.0. Its rate is controlled by the owners of exchanges, such as Bitfinex. Would it be an over-the-top statement to say that Bitfinex and Tefa may be the products of one of these alphabet agencies? in-q-tel. in-q-tel, formerly Peleus and known as in-q-it, is an American not-for-profit venture capital firm based in Arlington, Virginia. It invests in high-tech companies for the sole purpose of keeping the Central Intelligence Agency and other intelligence agencies equipped with the latest in information technology in support of the United States intelligence capability. So it's basically a venture capital arm of the CIA. If we go to in-q-tel's page, we can see that they invested into a plethora of companies, one of them being GitLab. On top of the fact that the NSA offered a technical paper on cryptocurrency long before the arrival of Bitcoin, the agency is also the creator of SHA-256, hash upon which every Bitcoin transaction in the world depends. As the Hacker News explains, the integrity of Bitcoin depends on the hash function called SHA-256, which was designed by the NSA and published by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST. In other words, if the SHA-256 hash, which was created by the NSA, actually has a backdoor method of cracking the encryption, it would mean that the NSA could steal everybody's bitcoins whenever it wants. Call it a 0 day. The same article, written by Mohit Kumar, mysteriously concludes, even today it's too early to come to conclusions about Bitcoin. Possibly it was designed from day one as a tool to help maintain control of money supplies of the world. And with that statement, Kumar has indeed stumbled upon the bigger goal in all of this, to seize control over the world money supply as the fiat currency system crumbles and is replaced with a one world digital currency controlled by globalists. Cashless system? Check out China with the new credit scoring system, stopping people from traveling. That's the beginning phase, and later I would say they will be stopped from trading. And here comes the biblical predictions. Cashless society, RFID chips in your arm, with blockchain connected into it, and you can't buy or sell or trade or do anything unless you have one of those in your arm. Unless you're an extremely high level mathematician, there's no way you can know for sure whether any cryptocurrency is truly non-hackable. As we all know, behind Bitcoin Core right now, there's a company called Blockstream. Now, DCG Digital Currency Group is the company invested into Blockstream. The CEO of DCG is Barry Silbert, a former investment banker, and MasterCard is an investor in DCG.
MasterCard is invested in DCG, DCG is invested into Blockstream, and Blockstream is invested into Bitcoin.
On DCG website, 3 board members are listed, and 1 board advisor. 3 of the 4 members advisors are particularly interesting. Glenn Hutchins, former advisor to President Clinton. Hutchins sits on the board of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, where he has re-elected as a Class B director for a 3-year term ending December 2018. Barry Silbert, CEO of DCG, Digital Currency Group funded by MasterCard, who is also an ex-investment banker at Houlihan Lokey. And then there's board advisor Lawrence Summers, chief economist at the World Bank from 91 to 93. In 93, Summers was appointed Undersecretary for International Affairs of the United States Department of the Treasury under Clinton administration. Who is Satoshi Nakamoto? Satoshi in Japanese kanji means wise or intelligent, while Naka can mean center, among other things. Some believe this is a nod to the term central intelligence, while others write this notion of as buffoonery. So if we go to How to Make a Mint, the Cryptography of Anonymous Electronic Cash, the paper by the NSA from 1996, and scroll down to references, amongst many characters we come across Tatsuaki Okamoto. And he has, amongst many of the works that he has created, 3 of them really stand out, especially in these references. Number 1, single-term divisible electronic coins, advances in cryptology. And I'd like to bring your attention to the fact that it doesn't say cash or money, he says coins. Number 2, an efficient divisible electronic cash scheme. And number 3, by Tatsuaki Okamoto and Kazuo Ohta, universal electronic cash. So those are 3 of his works, and he has a lot. Very, very educated character, and as I've mentioned in one of my previous videos, only a few individuals in a whole wide world would have the knowledge and the skill to create something like Bitcoin. And this is Tatsuaki Okamoto. If I was to place my bets who Satoshi is, I would say this is him, with maybe a couple of other individuals as his partners, but this here, I believe, is Satoshi Nakamoto. And this is just a little tweet. In 1991, Tatsuaki Nakamoto was talking about electronic cash systems using cryptographic techniques to guarantee security, distributed through networks, decentralizations, coins being subdivided, solution to the double spend, and smart cards using chips for transfer speeds. Let's start connecting a few dots. Here's a little video I found on YouTube. It's called Does the Government Control the Deep Web? From a channel called All Time Conspiracies.
The deep web is a dark and mysterious place for the majority of internet users. Hidden from the prying eyes of governments, companies and security agencies, a whole host of illicit activities can be found deep beneath the surface of conventional search engines. The deep web has developed a bad reputation as a platform for drug marketplaces like Silk Road, explicit and illegal pornography, and even hitmen services.
So this is where the black economy comes in.
But it might not just be criminals and people wanting privacy logging in. The government itself could be exploiting this system of anonymity, lurking in the shadows so it can monitor illicit activity and communicate in secret. Anonymous communication across the internet was the brainchild of the US Navy in the 1990s. The military hoped to create a platform for intelligence officers, foreign dissidents, and police forces to use so they could communicate and conduct covert investigations on targets without others being aware. In 2004, the Navy cut its funding for the program and released the licensing into the public domain. The anonymous communication service rolled out to the public was a router called Tor.
The government created an anonymous platform for itself to conduct its activities anonymously and then released it free into the public. I swear I heard something similar somewhere before.
This private browser uses volunteer computers to bounce signals around the globe, disguising the IP address of a computer so it supposedly can't be traced. However, investigative journalist Yasha Levine believes the government's involvement in the program didn't end in 2004. It's claimed that everybody involved in developing Tor technology has been or is still funded by the Pentagon or a related arm of the US empire.
So they may have released it to the public, but with strings attached, of course, or as the Russian saying goes, free meals are only found in mousetraps.
The 2 major developers of Tor, Roger Dingledine and Nick Mathewson, were contracted by the Defense's Advanced Research Projects Agency, an advanced researcher for the Department of Defense. The government is still funding the Tor program, and in 2013 donated $1.8 million to it. Why would the government continue to support a program that is notoriously used by criminals, pedophiles, and terrorists?
So DARPA is funding a browser that has been released to the public that allows anyone to access the deep web, illegal goods and illicit activities. Right.
The official story is that the government funds the deep web because it enables freedom of speech.
Ah, come on.
The Tor system can bypass censorship in countries that restrict media, such as in China. America advocates the use of this technology because it can circumvent the Great Firewall and allow citizens to access world news websites and social networks like Facebook. The vast size of the deep web is also beneficial to the US government. At 500 times the size of the surface web, it's a great place to hide vast databases. But there is evidence to suggest that there are ulterior motives behind the government's involvement in the deep web.
Really? A whole ecosystem where criminals can flourish under the assumption they are anonymous while using a government-produced browser? An ecosystem where criminals will be attracted like moths to a flame? Tell me more.
The deep web may in fact be a win-win situation for the government, where it gets anonymous communications between its own assets, whilst the National Security Agency tracks those who are using the system for illegal means. Yasha Levine states the government may have deliberately designed the deep web with the public in mind. This is because, according to Levine, if the system were used solely by military and intelligence services, then every time digital signals were intercepted by outside sources, they could instantly recognize where these confidential communication lines were coming from. So, in order to disguise secret government information, the best way would be to hide it amongst thousands of public signals, blending them in with the general population. On top of that, the NSA is then apparently able to track the public's usage of the service, providing Tor as a web service that merely gives the illusion of anonymity.
So even though it's supposed to be anonymous, it only gives the illusion of anonymity and everyone can be tracked. I'm starting to have a bit of deja vu here. I swear I heard something similar before.
In July 2014, German TV channel Das Erste claimed that if you merely search for Tor on a conventional search engine, the NSA then tracks you by following your digital fingerprints, which Edward Snowden described as tagging individuals or groups. Then the NSA is able to store and see all of a person's internet usage. It's even been claimed that the NSA owns some of the volunteer servers that Tor uses to bounce the signals around the world, which means the government can directly tap into the system. According to Gwen Branwen, this has already resulted in the arrests of over 300 people affiliated with the dark web since 2011.
As long as it gets filth off our streets, sounds good to me.
And these are just the cases reported by popular deep websites. The Guardian newspaper has also reported that it was, in fact, the NSA that helped the CIA track down 4 drug distributors in the UK who were associated with Silk Road. So it may indeed be the case that the NSA is monitoring the deep web, while government agencies and the military hide in plain sight.
in-q-tel and Google had jointly provided venture capital funding to Recorded Future Inc., a temporal analytics search engine company that analyzes tens of thousands of web sources in order to predict trends and events. I do find it very interesting that Bitcoin never dies even after major tragedies like Mt. Gox. It is like there is a power behind it that keeps reviving and pushing it forward. What if Bitcoin gives the financial incentive to build a global brain for AI, like mentioned by Quinn Michaels? Few extracts from Komsomolskaya Pravda, Russian newspaper. The architecture of Bitcoin was described in a white paper of American intelligence long before the appearance of mythical Satoshi Nakamoto. Both the texts and code of Satoshi Nakamoto are overflowing with Americanisms. This is typical American product. Experts easily determine the country-specific programming style, the tools used, the programming code design, as well as English language used in technical notes and comments. The very implementation of Bitcoin design and programming is a huge undertaking. Obviously, this wasn't created by a lone genius, but by a group of highly professional cryptographers over several years. There are many man-years invested, no doubt. Where can a group of professional American cryptographers work for years? Why and what they were for? Where do you think expert cryptographers work these days? What kind of jobs do they have? Obviously, they work predominantly in various special service agencies. However, one should be spooked by it. After all, many new technologies that come to us from the US, GPS, Tor, and actually the internet itself, are USA military developments that eventually were commercialized and made available to the masses. Obviously, this is advantageous. You invest military money and military intelligence, then commercialize, thereby supporting private American companies and developing their business. Take Tor as an example. The military system originally developed as communication tool for spies. It was privatized and released, and then Chinese dissidents crowded in and crime followed close behind. Drug deals, weapon sales, child porn, contract killings. Might as well the Bitcoin story was a similar one. Of course, this is an assumption, but not nearly as far-fetched. More from Natalia. Было бы очень интересно с вами провести интервью. It's not only about Bitcoin though. I think that the entire infrastructure of blockchain and cryptocurrency has been developed in the USA. Control over cryptocurrencies can be achieved through the creation of super corporations with super technologies in key locations, as was the case with the internet, and also through stock markets, startup funding, etc. And what country is doing better in this regard than USA in the Valley and beyond? And of course, the main fact, she says that Bitcoin, just like Tor and GPS, is privatized. Conclusion. I have presented information as to possible origins of Bitcoin and who the creator may be. In fact, I think I nailed it. You may ask yourself, who cares? Why does it matter? I'll tell you why. There's countless reasons. Here are a few. Because such technology can be used to liberate or enslave the masses. Satoshi, or the group behind the pseudonym, controls almost 7% of Bitcoin, maybe more. He could potentially become the wealthiest and most powerful man entity on Earth. I'd like to know the true intention and purpose of his creation without making assumptions. Is this a first step towards a cashless society? Tim Draper said cash is for criminals, that crypto will obliterate fiat. Even though a lot of people absolutely applauded that statement, I am of a different opinion. More money has and is being laundered digitally via well-established banks such as HSBC, who have been caught red-handed, than any amount of cash ever could. Cryptocurrencies can and are used for criminal activities. Bitcoin being the native currency of the deep dark web. It's the currency of the black economy. In fact, it's the perfect bridge and medium between the dark and surface economies. Bitfinex and Tether are great tools for that. I will not expand on this, even though I would love to, but it will take up a whole other video. Therefore, Tim can fuck right off, and anyone pushing towards a fully cashless society can do so too. And you might think, why? Because limiting your options to transact outside a specific one individual system is locking you in and making you dependent on that very system, being decentralized or not. The perfect Trojan horse. The very thing that you thought will liberate you will actually do the opposite. Even though Bitcoin is decentralized, would making it the sole way to transact, centralize, and limit your options? You decide. Let me give you an example. China has a credit scoring system based on facial recognition, biometric data, etc. Purchasing unhealthy foods lessens your score. Interacting with individuals of low score lessens your score. Criticizing the government lessens your score. These are just a few examples. This in turn limits your rights, such as travel. You will find it a lot harder to travel if you have a low score. Now, or access to certain perks. If there is one form of monetary digital system, then your ability to transact, buy or sell food, for example, can be turned off, rendering you at total mercy of the matrix-like system. And I've spoken about RFID and so on in my previous video. We should always have the ability to transact outside a digital system. There is a lot that I have left unsaid. There's a lot of YouTubers that like to do investigations, but for some reason you limit yourself to criticizing other YouTubers and ICOs or exchanges, but you don't want to go to the root of the matter, the actual source. I hope I have provided a foundation, and I hope it serves as a stepping stone towards less wishful thinking, illusions, and more truth and realism. Perhaps you can actually dig up and expand on on the content of this video. Peace, motherfucker.